Hello, coming at you live. Julie here, grow your occupancy, grow your occupancy, grow your discomfort. This is the first sort of official live that I've done, and we'll see how it goes. I think it's the first, maybe and only live senior living sales focused channel opportunity for people to jump on, interact, ask questions, comments, thoughts, really open forum for engaging and connecting in a virtual way. It is my mother's birthday, so shout out to my mom. Happy birthday, Helen. All right, so let's jump on to I'm getting a message to turn my screen this way. Okay. I'm my director. Okay. Before we kind of jump into a couple questions from you guys, wanted to share with you a few statistics. I'm looking at a CRM prospectus for 2023, and let's take a look at what's happening in the industry. So, okay, 2023. It says the wave is here. First of the baby boomers turned 77. We're talking about the baby boomers since I started in this business. What about you guys? They turned 77, marking the arrival of the silver tsunami the industry is expected for years. So here we go. Baby boomers are different than prior generations. So a new cohort coming in. A 15% increase in inquiries, a 15% increase from 65 to 75-year-olds. So, quote unquote, younger people inquiring. This, in my opinion, I don't want to jump to solve here, but I would say this is a need for greater sales skills. Hello, hi. How are boomers? Oh, boomers. How old are boomers? I guess the first baby boomers turned 77. My mother, I don't know if she'd be upset. She's 86 today, plays tennis 3 times a week. So age is just a number. Our clients, our prospects, customers are digitally enabled. Certainly, of course, fiercely independent. 93% say it's important to remain independent. Richer, but they might not feel that way. Median household income for 65 plus is at a historic high. Currently, monthly mortgage payments and average rent, of course, and expenses are increasing. They'll live longer and with higher acuity. A couple things to shout out and put out there for a year at a glance. Occupancy gains on the heels of COVID petered out in 2023. So when you're talking about, oh, we bounced back, no, we did not bounce back. The industry gained only 3 points. Closed December at about 82% occupancy. Still have a ways to go. It's never understated how important it is in sales, because it's really all about the customer experience, and it starts with you guys. Hello. Oh, boomers. Okay, Heidi, you're telling me 1946 to 1964 are boomers. I would say the oldest boomers then, not the youngest. The oldest ones are 77, right? Gains weren't felt evenly by product type or region. Independent living and blended care types emerge as the winners. And listen to this one. Despite persistently high demand, 40 leads per 100 units in the database. 40 leads per 100 units in the database. Tour volume stayed flat and move-ins decreased over 2022, calling attention to a potential tipping point in sales efficiency. Again, it's not all one person. It's not all on you, the salesperson, but you make such an incredible difference. So one question I have here, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this, is time management. and it's a kind of a global topic. But the question that was asked is, how do I do outreach and manage inside sales? It's a very common challenge. The simple fact is there's more to do than there is time. There's more to do than there is time, right? So um, I would say, and please shout out here, the when you're looking at what do I do, how do I do it, take it in chunks. So for those of you struggling with outreach, carve out one half day, and then you'll need to rely on your team for tours that happen and phone calls that happen during that one half day. When I say half day, maybe 3 hours. Now, you can't get 40 appointments in, but don't expect yourself to get 40 appointments in. With outreach, less is more, sort of that circle of influence. Just like in your lead base, you might have 400 leads, you might have 4,000 leads, or anywhere in between, but you're not working 400 leads all at once. You're really focusing and narrowing in on 10, maybe 20, and certainly peppering in those outer circle, cooler leads, if you will. Same with outreach. You can't expect yourself to reach out and connect with, 200 people. Think, okay, who are my hot, just like you do with leads, who are my hot outreach connections? If you don't have any hot connections, it's like if you don't have any hot leads, what do? You start calling your database and start creating hots, or you go and do some outreach, right? And start those relationships. So, as far as the balance, another thing I would say is, you know, think about. I did a training today, and one of the questions was, how do I fit it all in? Right? This is again this time management piece. Think of what are your top three most impactful actions as a senior living sales director, whatever it is that you do. What are your top three things? And you go from there. So when you're prioritizing by definition, right? You you start there. What's my priority? What do I do? I have so much to do. It's the discipline to stop and pull up and out, and instead of react to everything, and I've got to cross 25 things off my list today, what are you narrowing in on? Okay, so tours, okay, you're planning your tours, doing the discovery, really making those connections and tours, planning, that's number one. And then what's number two? Probably your follow up, your outbound calls, your follow through, your connections. What's the third? Outreach for lead gen, potentially. So when you're scheduling and you're putting your calendar together, think in those terms. I hope that's helpful. Someone's asking, what if I don't have help at the community? Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so it's an awkward position to be in. If you're a sales director and the executive director is the boss, right? And it would then be up to you, the individual, to go to your boss, not complaining, not whining, but with a statement of fact, with a solution. Okay, so there's a problem, or not really even a problem, but there's a assignment in front of you. I really, looking at making impact, feel that the need to get out, making these connections, to get direct referrals, to get word of mouth referrals, non-paid referrals, keeping that pipeline going is valuable. When I'm out, I'd really like to talk about a plan for those 3 hours or 4 hours if when phone calls come in or when leads come in on the however they get to you, okay, digitally, you need to keep an eye on those, or walk-ins. Now, walk-ins are few and far between, but you need to be prepared, right? So, absolutely, Heidi, focus on income producing activity, no doubt about it. If you really have to, I would say, lean into discomfort, right? Started out saying that, lean into discomfort in having those difficult conversations, or what you might feel is difficult conversation. It's my experience that it's how you show up to anything. So how you show up to a meeting, how you show up to with a problem, instead of kind of showing up as a victim. Well, I can't get everything done and no one's there to help me, and how do I balance everything? And yes, that's sometimes how we feel. Take a breath, do what you need to kind of reset. Say, okay, how am I going to show up? I want to show up with a solution, a suggestion, a way to work this through. Because ultimately, doing outreach, okay, being active in the community, doing face to face, one to one, or networking to make those connections, it will yield you, okay, it won't be as many, but it does consistently, it's proven that it will increase the number of referred or word of mouth. And that's critical. It's just critical in our business. I've got a comment here of just like a fan out list, ask the ED to work on sales fan out help. So that's a suggestion too, saying, I think what I'm hearing you say is, can we look at one, two, or three people that while I'm out can and will watch, watch the CRM for however leads come in, um, or make sure that the phone is answered, you got your phone tree ready to do the tours, those kinds of things. I would agree. I would agree. So much of this is mindset too. And if how we show up. So if you're showing up in with confidence and with the end goal, and your intention is to get this done or to be consistent, for example, with outreach. Because that's, I mean, as a salesperson, you're working your lead pipeline. So many leads, the majority, 80% and more, come through digital channels. And that is true. That's a statistic. What about that other 20%? And if they convert at a much higher rate, think about, the statistic is 50%. So if you get 2 a month, that's 1 move in. If you get 4 a month, 1 a week, that's 2 move ins, versus aggregator leads that convert at 6 to, gosh, 10 would be really high. 10% would mean that to get that 1 move in, instead of doing 2 tours, you'd have to do 10, work 10 leads, right? And that's not to say that you're not working all the leads, but I think the first thing to really think about is, how do I make outreach work for me, for us? And it's not cookie cutter. I just did a podcast about outreach and what does it look like in 2024? What does it look like today? When I started in senior living quite a while ago, and then I moved to sales specialist role, it was outreach, outreach, outreach. I mean, as a sales specialist, and I started in a really challenged community, and it was like 60%, 70% outreach. And it's not to say sales weren't difficult, the inside sales, because it's never been easy to sell senior living, right? But it was not there, I'll say easier, but it's much more difficult now. That to be said, I went out, you just start generating leads, you generate referrals, and just get that pipeline really going and kind of juiced up. Your the lead flow, you're bringing in higher converting leads, and if you're a really good salesperson and you're working your systems and you're doing your planning and your follow up and your strong advising, that was the way it worked for me anyway, and how I trained years ago. I still believe in outreach. A lot of people think outreach is dead. I don't, but you have to look at where you guys are now and where your leads coming from, how much time you have, and how do you maximize. If you have 3 hours, you really have to plan that time. You really have to plan that time. Hey, Chrissy. Oh, yeah. Set up your A team. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. You know, I I hear things, I'm sure you guys do too, that, oh, well, no, no one will help me. I have to do it all. And I think, do you? I mean, what has been done as far as conversations, not complaining and whining and talking to someone else about it and feeling sorry for ourselves because that, can kind of that victim mode, right? That can happen. But rather, okay, whew, I got a lot here and pulling up and looking on the business to say, okay, strategically, what's the best use of my time? And when you're approaching things like that and you approach your boss, whoever it is, to say, hey, when I look at it, I think we can get better outcomes if I'm spending 3 to 4 hours out. Same thing with home visits. If you're out doing a home visit, who's in the community? Well, I can't do home visits because nobody is in the community. That's showing up as a victim. That's being in excuse mode. So I think just in life, this is a time of year, time of life where people are making those resolutions, and we're gonna, get organized and time management, and we're gonna. It's common. It's a common thing. All of us, we all have too much to do. We all have more to do than time. All right. Let's see. What else is on your mind? Let's see. Okay. What do I prioritize? Outreach or tours? Good question. That is a good question. I'm going to pose it out for you guys too. Yeah, if I have to answer in one answer, I would say tours. Tours is a number one priority because that's what you're doing outreach for. That's what you do calls to get the tours. You can work around, I would say, though, like for that 2 or 3 hour block, or maybe it's, 2 2 hour blocks. You get to work at 10 or 10:30 instead of, 8 or 8:30, and you do a couple appointments or a networking or a breakfast, right, in the morning. And for that time, don't schedule tours. Now, if someone wants to come in at 8:30, certainly want to work around that. But I really believe you can balance it. I mean, what do you guys think? How do others balance it all? Yeah. um, I think that it's what we decide. That's a bigger conversation. But what do we decide? What does each one of us decide to do? So I think people who take time to plan, take time to prioritize, and give themselves a little runway to not do something and then be able to explain why. For example, if I'm getting a better outcomes because I'm taking time to plan, I'm working on my skills, I have higher conversions, I'm going out, I'm doing some strategic outreach, and I'm getting, 1, 2, 3 more move-ins than average or than my predecessor or than I was 6 months ago when I wasn't doing all those things. I just fail to think that anyone, your ED, is going to be upset that you didn't do some bulk email or you have a few past dues. I'm not saying that's great to have those past dues, but let's look at the outcome, and more isn't necessarily better. I think that's how I would approach it as far as getting it all done. What is all? I used to be, and I still am, checklist. If you're on this call, if you're in senior living sales, you get a ton done. And I've got I've got my daily calendar, my to do. Really been working on disciplining myself to stop and have some thinking time, have some planning time, and where is time best spent? All right, well, we're going to wrap it up today with a couple more things to think about. Things to think about. Okay, here's a couple more facts for you. 80% of leads, 80% new prospect sales behaviors have taken shape, with more than 80% are using online channels, and that's aggregators and organic search. That's not shocking. The prevalence of online information option transparency will have a transformative effect on the senior living industry. And looking ahead, operators will continue to grapple with tailoring the senior living offering and sales process to meet the needs and wants of today's senior living prospect. One that has higher standards, more need, greater visibility, and more options than ever before. That's taking what was already really difficult and bringing it to the next level. But if you're leaning in and you're wanting to learn and grow, you're the ones that will come out at this time next year with even greater outcomes. All right, till next time, thanks for joining me. I'm Julie Podewitz. Let me know what you want to talk about next time, and have a great, great rest of your day.